What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Fanatics Eye. Last Saturday, the Lions lost the Cowboys because a certain ref, Brad Allen, decided to forget which of the offensive linemen checked in as an eligible receiver. Therefore, their game-winning two-point conversion was called back, didn't count, they lost the game by 1. On the flip side of that coin, the Cowboys probably could have shored up their victory a lot quicker had there not been a ridiculous tripping call called on the Cowboys, on the offense. That same reffing crew called a horrific game earlier this season, Eagles versus Dolphins. The penalty ratio, Eagles to Dolphins, in that game was an absolute abysmal 10-0 in the Eagles' favors. They didn't call a single penalty on the Eagles. They called 10 on the Dolphins. Absolutely ridiculous. Not only that, 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, when the Chiefs lost to the Packers, it was that same reffing crew. In fact, it was supposed to be Brad Allen's call to call the pass interference that probably would have ended up leading to a Chiefs victory. Chiefs are down by 8. 43 seconds to go. Patrick Mahomes throws a dime of a bomb down the field to Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Inside the 10-yard line, Valentine, the rookie defensive back for the Packers, literally jumps on top of, tackles, pushes down, throws down. I mean, however you want to say it. Just absolutely tackles Marquez Valdes-Scantling before he has a chance to touch the ball. Okay, this was one of the most horrendous missed PI calls in NFL history. It was blatantly obvious. It was very catchable. And Valentine, the cornerback, just literally by the time the ball got there, Marquez Valdes-Scantling is halfway to the ground with his knees on the ground, and Valdes-Scantling has his arm out like this, and he's on top of MVS. Ridiculous. Should have been a pass interference, which would have put them inside the 10 on the 5 or the 6 yard line, I believe. Now, they were down by 8, so who knows if they would have got the 2-point conversion or not, but at least they would have had a chance. So, it's just absolutely ridiculous, okay? And these aren't the only few times, which 3 times to change the well, and we don't know if, obviously, the Eagles-Dolphins game, the Dolphins haven't beat a single team that is worthy of beating besides the Cowboys. And the Cowboys are the worst good team in the NFL, in my opinion. But at least in 2 games, to single-handedly, as a ref, decide the outcome of a game, not because of a good call, not because there was actually a penalty, or it actually shouldn't have been called, but 1, a 10-0 penalty ratio in the Eagles' favor. 2, to miss a blatantly obvious pass interference call that probably would have won the Chiefs the game, because everyone knows Travis Kelce is probably the biggest red zone threat in the NFL, and he definitely would have been the one getting the ball in the 2-point conversion, and my money every time would be on Travis Kelce to catch that ball. And 3, to call a tripping call on the Dallas Cowboys that would have won them the game probably then and there. And 4, in that same Lions-Cowboys game, to literally change the outcome of another game because of a bad call. The ref forgot. I don't care what anybody says. The ref forgot who checked in as an eligible receiver. Or he really did want the Cowboys to win, and he purposely called the wrong guy as an eligible receiver. For 3 games, you changed the outcome by bad reffing. It's not good. It's not like they were good calls that should have been called or should not have been called. Terrible calls. What makes me the most angry is not that it happened. Okay, sometimes that happens. But it's the fact that the NFL has zero accountability for their referees. This same reffing crew under Brad Allen, who has made plenty of other terrible mistakes consistently throughout this entire season. This crew, they're not under, or even just Brad Allen, even I would be happy with, but they're not under any kind of investigation or suspension or nothing like that. In fact, Roger Goodell and the NFL has decided to make Brad Allen's reffing crew the one to call this upcoming Saturday night prime time Steelers versus Ravens game, okay? Possibly the biggest rivalry in the NFL. In a lot of people's eyes, probably most people's eyes, it is the biggest rivalry in the NFL. This will decide whether the Steelers get into the playoffs or not. So it is an extremely important game. It's prime time on Saturday night. Have them, if you're not going to give them any kind of retribution, have them go ref the Patriots-Jets game in New England. Nobody's going to care about that game. Who cares what they call? Both of them have already been eliminated. I don't even think the Patriots and Jets fans care. I don't even know if they'll be watching. Have them go ref a game like that. Not a primetime Saturday night all-world rivalry game, which will decide the outcome of one team's season and whether it will continue or not. Absolutely ridiculous. This is unforgivable. The NFL needs to take some kind of accountability for their referees. It's getting completely out of hand. It's just absolutely disgraceful. Okay, there's no other way to put it. Absolutely disgraceful. How is this the outcome of what happened, even if we just look at the Lions-Cowboys game last Saturday night, when there were 2 game-altering penalties that shouldn't have been called? In the tripping call against the Cowboys would have ended the game right then and there, probably. There is a possibility that the Lions could have still got the ball back and done what they did. And the illegal touching called against Taylor Decker, which would have won the game for Detroit. Now, I might have been a little overdramatic when I said that the NFL needs to clean house as it pertains to the referees and bring in completely new guys across the board. But this reffing crew under Brad Allen, or even at least Brad Allen, because he's the head guy of that crew, at least Brad Allen or that crew as a whole needs to be gone. Never to ref an NFL game again. Ideally, never to ref a sports game again. They have been that horrible. They need some kind of retribution for these game-altering calls that should not be called. Or should be called, like the pass interference against the Packers in the Chiefs game. But anyways, let's get back to Cowboys-Lions. Not going to talk about the penalty at all in this, okay? We're about a week removed from that game. So everybody's kind of calmed down. Obviously, I haven't, but most people have calmed down and have stopped talking about that call in particular. A lot of people are, because Brad Allen is reffing this Steelers game, but it's whatever. But now that we are done talking about the reffing in that game, we can talk about what's the most important from that game, okay? Did the Cowboys-Lions game tell us more about Dallas, or did it tell us more about Detroit? And me, personally, I'm leaning more towards this telling us a lot more about the Detroit Lions than the Cowboys, and I'll tell you why. We knew who Dallas was going into that game. We knew about their offense that could show up if they wanted to, okay? Dak Prescott has played at an MVP level this season, and CeeDee Lamb has been absolutely stellar. He's second in receiving yards. He just passed the Cowboys' all-time receiving yards in a single season, passing up Michael Irvin in that Cowboys-Lions game. So just an incredible offensive season for the Dallas Cowboys. And we know who that defense is. We know Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Stephon Gilmore. We know this, okay? We know that they are a great team. And they could win the Super Bowl if they had it in them. But I don't think they have it in them because they're absolute choke artists. On the flip side of that coin, did we really have a full understanding of that Detroit Lions team? It's the first time the Detroit Lions have been good since who knows when. I don't even know. It's the first time they've won the division in like 50 years or something like that. But aside from one guy completely melting down, him being Cam Sutton guarding CeeDee Lamb, which was an absolute atrocity. But aside from that, their defense played absolutely stellar against the Cowboys, okay? This is a Cowboys team that averages over 40 points a game at home. Detroit went into there, almost beat them, held them to 20 points, and lost by 1. This is a team that coming into this Cowboys-Lions game, everyone was worried about not necessarily the defense as a whole, but mostly the pass rush was what nobody was really talking about the cornerbacks and the secondary play, but it was mostly the pass rush. And the problem with the pass rush that people were saying was they're not good enough to consistently put pressure on a quarterback if there's a good offensive line. Dallas has one of the best offensive lines in the league. Top 3 in my opinion. This is a very good offensive line. Aiden Hutchinson absolutely tore Tyron Smith apart. And it wasn't even a competition for Aiden Hutchinson. He had a career game. It was absolutely incredible to watch Aiden Hutchinson. You like watching edge rushers? Go rewatch that game. He put on an absolute clinic for edge rushing. They held Dallas to 2.9 yards a carry. 2.9 a carry. They only ran for 60 yards on more than 20 carries. It was absolutely ridiculous. And all I saw from that front seven was constant and consistent pressure on the quarterback and on the running backs. They lived in Dallas's backfield on Saturday night last week. I mean, against one of the best offensive lines in the league, in my opinion, a top 3 offensive line in the league, they had 3 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, and 7 quarterback hits. Now, most of that was from that man Aiden Hutchinson, who was an absolute dog of a pass rusher. But that whole front seven contributed to stopping the run and holding Dallas to 2.9 yards a carry. But the most important thing to look at here is the Lions only lost by 1 point to the Dallas Cowboys, and Jared Goff threw 2 picks and a single touchdown. Didn't even throw for 300 yards, and that is one of the worst games I've seen Jared Goff play all season long. They lost by 1 point. Dak, on the other hand, threw for almost 350 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had an amazing game, okay? CeeDee Lamb had an insane game, catching 13 balls for over 200 yards. He had 227 yards, I believe, and he passed Michael Irvin for the most receiving yards by a Cowboy in a single season. He had an incredible game, okay? They played great. They still only won by a point. At home, where they average 40 points a game and where their victory margins at home is over 20 points. You're telling me that if Jared Goff and that Detroit offense has an average game that they've had this season, they don't just spank the Cowboys? They lost by 1, and the Cowboys still played great on both sides of the ball. They lost by 1. This game showed us way more about Detroit's playoff potential than it did about the Cowboys. We know who the Cowboys are in the regular season. They're always a great team, possibly a top 5 team every year, it seems like, in the regular season. But they always choke in the first or second round. We know they will. Okay, they're going to end up playing the Rams or a team like that in the playoffs who is sneaky scary in the wild card and that you do not want to come up against. You do not want to face a Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp offense in the playoffs. That is a scary team. Very, very scary. The Lions, on the other hand, no one knows how far they could go in the playoffs. They could win 1 game, they could lose in the first round, or they could win the NFC. Nobody knows how far they could go. But this game showed us that if the Lions play up to their standards as it pertains to this season, it's game over for the entire NFC, except for probably the 49ers, because they are an absolute force to be reckoned with. They'll probably win the Super Bowl altogether. But that's all I got for today. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you on the next video. Peace out.